I was driving back home from a friend's wedding 3 towns over. It was late, close to 11 p.m., and I'd planned on taking the main highway the whole way back. I had music on, coffee in the cup holder, and my GPS set for the fastest route. About 20 minutes in, the GPS chimed and said, "A faster route has been found." I glanced down. It wanted me to take a right onto a road I didn't recognize. Pine Brook Trail. Never heard of it. But I trusted the GPS. It had never failed me before. As soon as I turned, the road narrowed and the asphalt gave way to dirt. My headlights caught thick branches above, almost knitting together into a ceiling. My bars of service dropped to 0. I laughed to myself, nervously. Okay, weird, but whatever. But then the voice on the GPS changed. It wasn't robotic anymore. It whispered, slow and deliberate. "Keep going." I stared at the screen. The map had gone blank. No roads, no markers. Just my blue icon moving deeper into nothing. I pulled over to turn around, but the road behind me was gone. I don't mean metaphorically, I mean literally. When I looked in the rearview mirror, there was just forest. No tire tracks, no turnoff, just black trees where the road should have been. I turned forward again. The GPS showed one thing: keep going. I sat there for a full minute, engine running, breathing fast. Then my headlights flickered. Once, twice, a shadow crossed the beam. Someone, or something, had walked in front of my car. I slammed the gear into reverse, but the wheels only spun. Mud. I hadn't even noticed the road turning into sludge. The GPS buzzed. A new instruction appeared. Don't stop. The voice was louder now, feminine, barely above a whisper, but it felt like it was inside my head. I leaned forward and squinted. A little further ahead, the road curved again, but this time I could swear there were lights. Not headlights. Lanterns? They swung like they were hanging from trees. I decided, against every instinct, to inch forward. Maybe there was a house, maybe someone with a phone. As I passed the first lantern, I noticed it wasn't electric. It was an old metal oil lamp, rusted and covered in soot, and hanging beneath it was something worse, a deer skull. Fresh blood smeared across the bone. I stopped again. Then I heard it, not from the GPS, but from the woods. A voice. It sounded like me. "Keep going," it said. I floored the gas. Whatever was out here, I didn't want to see it. The car lurched forward, spitting up mud, wheels slipping. The trees closed in tighter. The lanterns grew more frequent. And the voices, God, the voices, they were multiplying. Some male, some female, some distorted beyond human, all whispering in unison. "You're almost there, just a little further." The GPS lit up again, but now the screen showed something else. A countdown. Arrival in 1 minute, 45 seconds. Where the hell was it taking me? Then the forest opened slightly, revealing a clearing. At the center stood a tall wooden structure, like a cross between a cabin and a church. Candles lined the steps. Figures stood motionless along the path. They didn't wave, they didn't speak, just watched. I turned the wheel hard and drove off the path, crashing through underbrush, branches cracking against my windshield. The GPS shrieked, actually screamed, before going dead. After what felt like forever, I burst onto a paved road again. Cell service returned. I stopped the car, shaking, and looked back. The forest was normal again. No lanterns, no blood, no whispering. But my GPS still showed something strange. Under my recent destinations list, there was one that hadn't been there before. Pine Brook Trail, visited today. Next visit, scheduled. Tomorrow's date. Same time, same route. No way to delete it. It was just past midnight, and I was driving through a stretch of highway between Tucson and Bisbee, a part of Arizona that always made me feel like I was on the edge of the world. The desert seemed endless under the moonlight, like the road was suspended in some kind of purgatory. I was the only car for miles. That's when I saw him. A man stood on the shoulder of the road, his thumb out, lit faintly by my high beams. He wasn't staggering or disheveled like most hitchhikers I'd seen before. He looked prepared. He had a neat backpack and was wearing a dark green jacket zipped all the way up. For some reason, I slowed down. I never pick up hitchhikers, ever. But something about him, maybe the stillness, maybe the way he looked directly into my headlights without blinking, made me stop. He opened the passenger door and got in like he'd been waiting for me specifically. And then he said it. "Thanks for the ride, Nate." I didn't even respond right away. I just stared at him. "How do you know my name?" I asked, a little too sharply. He smiled politely, like I'd asked him if he needed the AC adjusted. "You're going to Sierra Vista, right? That's where you grew up." I slammed on the brakes, but he didn't look surprised. He just braced himself gently against the dashboard, then turned back to me calmly. "I can explain," he said. We sat in silence for a long minute on the side of the road. My hazard lights blinked steadily in the dark. I didn't know whether to tell him to get out or try to understand how he knew my name, my hometown, everything. "You're not in any danger," he said finally. "I promise." That's what someone incredibly dangerous would say. I asked him again, slower this time. "How do you know me?" He looked ahead at the empty road like he was remembering something. "I met you," he said. "Not in this life, not exactly. But we've crossed paths, several times actually. You don't remember? Not yet." I felt a chill work its way up my spine. I turned the engine off. No more driving until I figured this out. "You're messing with me," I said. "I understand how this sounds," he replied. "But tonight is a fixed point for you, like a checkpoint in a story, and you were always going to stop for me." He reached into his jacket pocket. I tensed up, ready to bolt. But all he pulled out was an old, folded photograph. It was a picture of me, at 10 years old, standing outside my childhood home, the one in Sierra Vista. I was holding my dog, Sammy. He died when I was 12. No one had that photo, not even me. My mom lost it in a house fire. "I don't expect you to believe me," the man said quietly, "but something is coming for you, Nate. You've been noticing it, haven't you? The static in the TV when it's off, the figure in the mirror that doesn't quite move right." I hadn't told anyone about those things. I should have kicked him out right then, but I didn't, because I had noticed. I started the car again. The road ahead felt thinner now, less real. The silence between us was electric. "Who are you?" I asked, hands tight on the wheel. "Think of me as a failsafe," he said. "A marker. I only appear when you're close to remembering." "Remembering what?" "That this isn't the first time you've lived this life." I laughed, but it came out shaky. "You've died before, Nate, in this exact stretch of road more than once, and each time you try to take a shortcut through the old service road near mile marker 107. I froze. I hadn't told anyone about that plan. My GPS was already set to reroute through a service road to avoid construction, that exact mile marker. "But this time," he said, "if you keep driving and don't take the shortcut, you live." I glanced at him. He looked tired, like he'd had this conversation too many times. Sure enough, a minute later, I saw the sign. "Service Road, mile 107, local access only." I slowed down. I always took the shortcut. It saved me 20 minutes. But something in me, something deep, screamed not to. I drove past it. The man exhaled slowly, like he'd been holding his breath. Then he opened the door and stepped out. I slammed the brakes. "Wait, where are you going?" He just turned and smiled. "See you next time." And then he was gone. No taillights, no walking, just gone. I checked the passenger seat. No photo, no mark he'd ever been there. But when I got to Sierra Vista that night, my mom met me at the door crying. "I don't know why," she said. "I just had this feeling, like I almost lost you again." I'd been driving for 9 hours straight. The last two had been nothing but pitch-black highway, surrounded by dense pine trees and the occasional set of glowing animal eyes. I was halfway between my old life and the new job waiting for me 2 states over. That's when the low fuel light came on. I pulled off at the next exit, a cracked sign barely visible in the dark that just said, "Service." The road turned to gravel almost immediately and twisted into the woods. I should have turned back, but I didn't. I was too tired, too desperate. That's when I saw it. A single gas pump under a rusted canopy. No sign, no lights beyond the flickering one above the station door. It looked abandoned, until I saw someone inside. An old man stepped out, wearing a blue jacket with a name tag that just said Stan. He moved slow, like each step was calculated. I asked if the pump still worked. He nodded once. I filled up. The numbers on the pump didn't move. When I went to pay, Stan waved me off. "I'm serious," he said, voice low and crackling like static. "No charge tonight. Just don't turn off your headlights, no matter what you see in the woods. Promise me." I laughed nervously. "Okay, sure." But his eyes didn't move, didn't blink. "Promise me." I nodded, and I drove off. The gravel turned back into pavement after a mile. My tank was full, but I felt heavier than before. The trees were thicker now, taller. They leaned in over the road like they were listening. Then I saw movement. At first, just shadows darting between trees. Maybe deer, but they moved too fast, too smooth, like they weren't touching the ground. I told myself I was tired. Then something crossed the road. I slammed on the brakes. My headlights caught it only for a second. Pale skin, long limbs, no eyes. It stood upright, watching me. I remembered what Stan had said. I didn't turn off the engine. I didn't look away. The thing stood there, twitching slightly, then slithered back into the trees. I kept going. More things came. Shapes in the trees, faces pressed to the edge of the road, mouths moving in silent screams. One even tried to step into my path, but I swerved. And then the worst of them. A woman standing in the center of the road, arms outstretched like she wanted a hug. Her eyes were glowing. I almost stopped. Almost. But I gunned the gas and swerved around her. My headlights flickered as I passed. I didn't look in the rearview mirror. I just kept driving. The forest didn't end. I'd been driving for an hour, maybe more, and the trees hadn't thinned. The road felt like it looped endlessly. No towns, no signs, no stars. Then the radio turned on by itself. Static. Then a voice, distant and broken. You turned them on. They see you now. I slammed it off. Then the lights ahead went out. My headlights. Gone. I hit the brakes, but the car kept rolling. No engine sound. Just the creaking of trees and something breathing just outside my window. I sat frozen, gripping the wheel when I remembered Stan's voice. Don't turn them off, no matter what you see. My hand reached for the key, trembling. Then a face pressed against the glass of my passenger side, smiling, hollow eyes. It didn't fog the window when it breathed. I screamed and turned the key. The headlights came back on. The face was gone. The car jolted, engine roaring like it had just come alive again. I drove like hell, not even sure what direction I was going anymore. Finally, the trees began to thin. A sunrise, pale and cold, appeared in the distance. I didn't stop until I saw the sign for the next town. When I asked the local gas station attendant about the one back in the woods, he just frowned. There's no gas station on that road, son, he said. Hasn't been for 30 years. Burned down in '96. I looked back toward the forest. It was still there, still watching, and I kept my headlights on, even in the daylight.